I told you what would happen if you tried to run! You're gonna regret this!
The train's wheels screamed against the metal tracks as I stumbled backward toward the open door. Marcus's hand was pressed against my chest, his face twisted with rage, and something else, desperation. "You should have minded your business, Chioma," he shouted over the roaring wind. "Marcus, please. We can fix this," I screamed, my fingers clawing at the door frame as the dark Nigerian countryside rushed past at deadly speed. "It's too late for that." His final push sent me flying into the night. For a moment, I was weightless, suspended between the stars and the earth. Then gravity claimed me. My body hit the ground with a sickening thud, and the world exploded into pain and darkness. The last thing I heard was the train's whistle fading into the distance, carrying away my colleague, my trust, and the evidence that could have saved me. But Marcus made one fatal mistake that night. He didn't make sure I was dead. Hello guys, welcome to my African Tales. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share it with your friends, and most important thing, turn your notification bell so you can get informed when I dropped another amazing story. Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments. What would you do if your spouse tried to kill you and you survive? Will you take a revenge or disappear forever? 2 hours earlier, the Lagos night was humid and restless as I boarded the 9 p.m. train to Ibadan. My hands trembled as I clutched my handbag closer to my chest. Inside was a flash drive containing evidence of embezzlement worth 50 million naira, evidence that would destroy careers and send people to prison. "Chioma, wait up." Marcus's familiar voice called out behind me. I turned to see my colleague jogging toward me, his smile wide and friendly as always. We had worked together at Sterling Trust Bank for 3 years. He was charming, reliable, the kind of person everyone trusted. "Marcus? What are you doing here?" I asked, surprised. "Heading to Ibadan for the weekend. My sister's wedding preparations," he said smoothly, holding up his ticket. "Looks like we're in the same coach. Small world, eh?" Something cold settled in my stomach, but I pushed it aside. This was Marcus. We had shared lunch breaks, complained about our boss together, celebrated promotions. I had no reason to distrust him. The train lurched forward, and we found our seats in a half-empty coach. Most passengers were already dozing off or lost in their phones. "Long week?" Marcus asked, settling into the seat beside me. "You have no idea," I muttered, staring out at the city, lights giving way to darkness. "I heard you've been working late. Special audit." My blood went cold. How did he know about the audit? It was confidential. Only 3 people knew about it, and Marcus wasn't one of them. "Just routine work." I lied, but my voice betrayed me. Marcus's smile didn't reach his eyes anymore. "Chioma, I know what you found." The train picked up speed, hurtling through the night. My heart hammered against my ribs. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The accounts. The transfers. The offshore payments." His voice was low now, dangerous. "You've been digging where you shouldn't." I stood abruptly, my bag clutched to my chest. "I need to use the restroom." His hand shot out, gripping my wrist. "Sit down." "Let go of me, Marcus. You're going to give me that flash drive, and we're going to forget this conversation ever happened." "Never." The word came out stronger than I felt. His grip tightened painfully. Other passengers were sleeping, oblivious. The coach attendant was nowhere in sight. We were alone in this moving metal coffin. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," Marcus hissed. "This is bigger than you. Bigger than me. People have disappeared for less." "Then let them come for me." I yanked my hand free and stumbled toward the space between coaches, where the doors opened to loading areas. Marcus followed, his footsteps heavy with intent. The wind hit me like a wall as I pushed through the door into the open area between coaches. The darkness rushed past, the ground a blur beneath us. The train was moving at full speed now, at least 80 kilometers per hour. "Last chance, Chioma," Marcus said, blocking my way back inside. "Give me the drive." "No." "Then you've chosen." He lunged forward, and I dodged, but there was nowhere to go. My back hit the railing. Below, the tracks rushed past in a deadly rhythm. Please, Marcus. Think about what you're doing. I have thought about it. His face was calm now, eerily calm. They'll think you jumped. Depressed young woman, work pressure, financial troubles. No one will question it. My family will know. Your family will grieve and move on. That's what people do. He grabbed my shoulders and I fought back, scratching, kicking, screaming into the wind that swallowed my voice. But Marcus was stronger, and he was committed to his choice. The final push came suddenly. One moment I was fighting for my life, and the next I was airborne. The fall felt eternal and instantaneous. My body tumbled through the darkness, spinning, the stars wheeling overhead. Then came the impact, brutal, unforgiving. My head struck something hard, and pain exploded through my skull. I tried to move, but my body wouldn't respond. Blood pooled warm beneath me. In the distance, the train's lights grew smaller, smaller, until they disappeared completely. God, if you can hear me. The thought dissolved into darkness, and I surrendered to it, certain that my story had ended on that lonely stretch of railway track outside a small village I would never know. But sometimes, God writes miracles in the language of suffering. And mine was just beginning. The first thing I felt was pain. It pulsed through every nerve, every bone, every breath. The second thing I felt was warmth, sunlight on my face, the smell of herbs, and something cooking. I tried to open my eyes, but even that simple act sent daggers through my skull. Ah, she's waking. Easy, my daughter, easy. A gentle voice, aged and soothing, spoke in Yoruba. Hands, calloused but tender, pressed a cool cloth to my forehead. I forced my eyes open and saw the blurred outline of an elderly woman hovering above me. Behind her, a mud brick ceiling, wooden beams, and bundles of dried herbs hanging from rafters. Where am I? My voice came out as a croak. You're safe. You are in Agbil village. I am Mama Adunni. She smiled, her face a map of wrinkles and wisdom. You gave me quite a fright, child. I found you by the railway tracks 3 days ago. Thought you were dead. 3 days? My mind spun, trying to grasp the words. Railway tracks. Something terrible had happened. Something about a train. What's my name? I asked suddenly, panic rising in my chest. Mama Adunni's smile faded. You don't remember? I searched my mind desperately, but found only fog and shadows. No name, no face, no past, just a vast emptiness where my life should have been. I don't remember anything, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Mama Adunni pulled me gently into her arms. Shh, my child. The spirits have given you back your life. Your memory will return when it is ready. For now, you heal. Over the following weeks, Mama Adunni became my world. She was the village herbalist, a woman respected and feared in equal measure. People came from surrounding villages seeking her remedies, for illnesses, for heartbreak, for protection against evil. She taught me to grind herbs, to mix poultices, to read the signs in nature. She gave me a name, Iamide, meaning my joy has arrived, because she said my survival was a gift from God. Someone wanted you dead, she said one evening as we prepared dinner. Your wounds, they were not from a fall. You were pushed. The word sent ice through my veins. How do you know? I have seen many bodies in my years, child. I know the difference between accident and intent. She stirred the pot of egusi soup thoughtfully. But whoever did this, they made a mistake. They underestimated the will of God. Life in Agbil was simple but beautiful. The village had no electricity, no running water, just 70 families living as their ancestors had for generations. I learned to fetch water from the stream, to pound yam, to weave baskets. The villagers accepted me without question, another lost soul Mama Adunni had rescued. But at night, the nightmares came. Flashes of faces I couldn't recognize. The sound of a train whistle. A man's voice saying, "You should have minded your business." And always, always, the feeling of falling through darkness. 8 months passed. My body healed completely, miraculously, according to Mama Adunni. I should have died from my injuries. The fractured skull, the broken ribs, the internal bleeding. Yet here I was, alive and whole. The gods have plans for you, Mama Adunni would say. Big plans. I wanted to believe her, but how could I fulfill any plan when I didn't even know who I was? Then came the day everything changed. It was late afternoon, and I was returning from the stream with a bucket of water balanced on my head. The sky had darkened suddenly, heavy clouds rolling in from the west. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Iamide, hurry, Mama Adunni called from the doorway. This storm will be fierce. I quickened my pace, but the rain caught me halfway. It came down in sheets, violent and cold. Lightning split the sky, and thunder crashed so loud it shook the earth. And then it happened. The lightning struck a tree 20 meters away, and in that blinding flash of light, my mind exploded with memories. Marcus, the bank, the evidence, the train, the push. I dropped the bucket, water mixing with rain, and fell to my knees in the mud. My name was Chioma Okafor. I was 28 years old. I worked at Sterling Trust Bank in Lagos. And Marcus Daniels had tried to murder me. The scream that tore from my throat was equal parts rage and revelation. A year. I had lost an entire year while my would-be killer walked free. Mama Adunni found me there, sobbing in the rain. It's back, I gasped. All of it. I remember everything. She pulled me to my feet, her eyes gleaming with something that looked like satisfaction. Then the time has come, my daughter. The time for justice. That night, wrapped in dry clothes and sitting before Mama Adunni's fire, I told her everything. About the embezzlement scheme I had uncovered. About Marcus's betrayal. About the flash drive I had hidden in my bag, the bag I no longer had. He probably destroyed it, I said bitterly. All the evidence is gone. Mama Adunni shook her head slowly. Evidence can be gathered again. But you are the evidence they cannot destroy. You are alive when you should be dead. That is the miracle, Chioma. Not just that you survived, but that you survived for this moment. What do I do now? You return from the dead, she said simply. And you show this Marcus that God fights for the innocent. But first you must be strong. You must be smart. Revenge without wisdom is just another way to die. She was right. I couldn't just walk back into Lagos and confront Marcus. I needed a plan. I needed to know what had happened in the year I'd been gone. Had he covered his tracks? Had anyone looked for me? Did my family think I was dead? The questions burned, but I forced myself to be patient. Mama Adunni taught me something valuable in those months. Survival wasn't just about staying alive. It was about knowing when to hide and when to strike. 3 weeks later, I was ready. Mama Adunni walked me to the edge of the village, pressing a small leather pouch into my hands. Protection, she said. And remember, you are Iamide, the joy that arrived. You survived for a reason. Make sure that reason counts. I hugged her tightly, this woman who had saved my life and given me a second chance. I'll come back. I know you will, my daughter. And when you do, you will come as a victor. As I boarded the bus to Lagos, my reflection in the window showed a different woman than the one Marcus had pushed from that train. I was thinner, harder, my eyes holding a depth they hadn't before. Marcus thought he had killed Chioma Okafor that night. He was about to discover he had created something far more dangerous. A survivor with nothing left to lose. Lagos assaulted my senses the moment I stepped off the bus. The noise, the crowds, the pollution, everything I had forgotten in the quiet simplicity of Agbil village came rushing back with overwhelming force. I had been gone for 1 year and 23 days. My first stop was an internet cafe in Yaba. My hands shook as I typed my own name into the search bar. Sterling Trust Bank employee missing, presumed dead. The headline from 13 months ago made my stomach turn. There was my photo, the professional headshot from my employee badge. Below it, the article detailed my disappearance. Chioma Okafor, 28, a senior accountant at Sterling Trust Bank, was reported missing after failing to arrive at a family event in Ibadan. Her belongings were found near the railway tracks outside Agbil village. Police suspect she may have fallen from the train. After 6 months of searching, her family held a memorial service. She is survived by her parents and 2 younger siblings. A memorial service. They had buried me without a body. My eyes burned with tears as I scrolled further. There, another article from 3 months ago. Sterling Trust Bank promotes rising star Marcus Daniels to regional manager. The photo showed Marcus in an expensive suit, shaking hands with the bank's CEO, Mr. Adeyemi. His smile was triumphant, confident. The smile of a man who had gotten away with murder. The article praised his exceptional leadership and dedication to financial integrity. The irony was suffocating. I kept reading, and then my heart stopped. Daniels announced his engagement to Miss Jennifer Okonkwo, also of Sterling Trust Bank. Jennifer, my best friend, the woman who had helped me study for my professional exams, who had celebrated my promotion with me, who had cried at my memorial service, according to social media posts I found. Now she was wearing my murderer's ring. Did she know? Was she part of this? I logged out and left the cafe, my mind reeling. The Lagos streets felt foreign and hostile now. Everywhere I looked, I saw danger.
Who else had been involved?
How deep did this conspiracy go? I needed somewhere safe to think, to plan. My family's house was out of the question. I couldn't face them yet, not until I had answers. Instead, I found a cheap hotel in Mushin, paid cash, and locked myself in a tiny room that smelled of mildew and regret. That night, I made a list. What I know. Marcus embezzled 50 million naira. He tried to kill me to cover it up. Now regional manager. The promotion he shouldn't have. He's engaged to Jennifer. My death was never properly investigated. What I need. New evidence of the embezzlement. Proof. Marcus pushed me to know who else is involved to stay alive long enough to expose them. The next morning, I did something reckless. I went to Sterling Trust Bank. I wore a hijab that covered most of my face, dark sunglasses, and clothes nothing like what the old Chioma would have worn. I looked like a completely different person, which, in many ways, I was. The bank's lobby was exactly as I remembered. Marble floors, glass walls, the receptionist with her practiced smile. I joined the queue, my heart pounding so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. Next, please. I approached the counter. I'd like to open a new account. Certainly, Ma. Please fill out this form. As I pretended to read the form, my eyes scanned the office. There, through the glass partition, I saw him. Marcus. He was leaning over someone's desk, pointing at a computer screen, laughing at something. He looked relaxed, successful, untouchable. The man who had destroyed my life was thriving. Something cold and dark settled in my chest. This wasn't just about justice anymore. This was personal.
Ma?
Ma, are you all right? The receptionist's voice brought me back. Yes, sorry. I'll come back later. I dropped the form and walked out quickly. But I had seen what I needed to see. Marcus was comfortable, complacent. He thought he had won. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a ghost haunting Marcus Daniels. I learned his routines. He left the office at 6 p.m. every day. He ate lunch at the same restaurant on Thursdays. He spent weekends at Jennifer's apartment in Lekki. He went to the gym on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. He was predictable. And predictable meant vulnerable. I also started digging into the bank's records, carefully, remotely, using internet cafes and borrowed laptops. The embezzlement hadn't stopped. If anything, it had gotten worse. Marcus was now moving money more boldly, protected by his new position. But he wasn't working alone. The transactions showed multiple authorization codes. At least 3 other senior managers were involved, including, my blood ran cold when I discovered this, Mr. Adeyemi himself.
The CEO.
No wonder my accident had been so easily dismissed. The corruption reached the very top. I needed help, but who could I trust? The police? They might be compromised. A lawyer? With what evidence? My family? I couldn't put them in danger. Then I remembered something. Before my fall, I had sent an email. It was a security measure. If anything happened to me, the evidence would automatically forward to someone trustworthy. I had sent it to my uncle, Professor Okafor. He taught law at the University of Lagos. He was honest, principled, and connected. But that was over a year ago.
Had he received it?
Had he done anything with it? I had to find out. 3 days later, I stood outside my uncle's office at the university, my heart in my throat. This would be the first time anyone who knew me would see me since my death. I knocked. "Come in." I opened the door and removed my sunglasses. My uncle looked up from his papers, his eyes meeting mine. For a moment, nothing happened. Then his face went pale, his mouth falling open. "Chioma," he whispered, as if speaking to a ghost. "Hello, uncle," I said, my voice steady despite my trembling hands. "I need to tell you a story about how I came back from the dead. And then, I need your help to make sure the man who killed me doesn't get away with it." He stood slowly, like a man in a dream, and walked toward me. His hand reached out, touched my face, confirming I was real. Then he pulled me into his arms and wept. We all thought. "I know, uncle. I know. But I'm here now. And I remember everything." When he finally released me, his eyes had hardened with determination. "Tell me everything, Chioma. Every single detail." So I did. And when I finished, Professor Okafor smiled grimly. "I did receive your email. I kept it safe, waiting for confirmation, for more evidence. The police told us you were just another missing person, probably fell from the train by accident. But I never believed it." He pulled out a file from his locked drawer. "And I've been gathering my own evidence ever since." Hope, real hope, bloomed in my chest for the first time in over a year. "Then we have him?" "Not yet, but soon." My uncle's smile turned sharp. "It's time for you to rise from the grave, my dear niece. And when you do, Marcus Daniels and everyone involved will wish they had never been born. The miracle Marcus could never have imagined wasn't just that I survived. It was that I survived to fight back. The plan was simple, but dangerous. We needed Marcus to confess, and the only way to get a confession was to shatter his world so completely that the truth would come spilling out. My uncle had connections with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the FCC. They had been investigating Sterling Trust Bank for months on unrelated charges, but our evidence would blow their case wide open. "We need him on record," Agent Taiwo said during our secret meeting. She was a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who reminded me of Mama Adunni. "A confession we can use in court." "I can get it," I said. My uncle shook his head. "Chioma, it's too dangerous. If he sees you..." "That's exactly what I want. I want him to see a ghost." 3 days later, everything was in place. The FCC had obtained a warrant to audit Sterling Trust Bank's accounts. They would arrive at the bank at exactly 2 p.m. My uncle had alerted the media. Journalists would be waiting outside. And I would walk through the front door at 2:15 p.m. I dressed carefully that morning. A blue suit, professional and familiar, the same color I had worn on my last day of work. I styled my hair the way I used to, applied makeup to look exactly like the photo on my employee badge. I wanted Marcus to see exactly who was coming for him. My uncle drove me to the bank, parking 2 blocks away. "You're wearing the wire?" he asked. I tapped my chest. "Everything will be recorded. If anything goes wrong." "It won't." I squeezed his hand. "I've been dead for over a year, uncle. What more can he do to me?" At 2:14 p.m., I stepped out of the car and walked towards Sterling Trust Bank. My heels clicked against the pavement with each step, a countdown to judgment. The security guard at the entrance stared at me like I had 3 heads. "Madam, can I help you?" "I'm here to see Marcus Daniels." My voice was steady, cold. "Do you have an appointment?" "He'll see me. Trust me." I walked past him into the lobby. The receptionist looked up, and her friendly expression froze. The pen fell from her hand. "Oh my God," she whispered. Other employees were starting to notice. Heads turned. Whispers spread like wildfire. Someone's phone clattered to the floor. "Is that... No, it can't be... Chioma Okafor? But she's dead." I walked through the office like a queen returning to reclaim her throne. People scattered out of my way, some crossing themselves, others pulling out their phones to record. The videos would be all over social media within minutes. Good. I reached the glass-walled conference room where Marcus was in a meeting with Jennifer and 2 other managers. Through the glass, I could see him laughing at something, completely unaware. I opened the door. The laughter died. Marcus looked up, and the color drained from his face so completely he looked like a corpse. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. Jennifer screamed, a sharp, piercing sound that brought everyone in the office running. "Hello, Marcus," I said calmly. "We need to talk." No, this isn't you're dead." His voice was barely a whisper. He stumbled backward, knocking over his chair. "You're dead. Am I?" I stepped closer. "Or did I just survive what you did to me?" I didn't." His eyes darted around the room, looking for escape, for help, for anything that made sense. Jennifer was hyperventilating, her hand clutching her chest. "Chioma? How is this possible?" I turned to her, and she flinched. "Did you know, Jennifer? Did you know what he did?" "Know what?" "Marcus said you. He said you jumped. That you were depressed. Is that what he told you?" I laughed, a sound with no humor. "Did he also tell you how he pushed me out of a moving train because I discovered he was stealing from the bank?" "That's not true." Marcus had found his voice, though it shook. "She's lying. She's insane. She disappeared, and now she comes back with crazy accusations." At that moment, Agent Taiwo and 4 other EFCC officers walked into the office, badges held high. "Marcus Daniels, you are under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and attempted murder." Marcus's legs gave out, and he collapsed into a chair. No, this isn't happening." "Where were you on the night of September 14th, 2024? Agent Taiwo demanded. "The night Chioma Okafor disappeared?" I was at home. I was nowhere near." "Funny," I interrupted, "because I remember you telling me you were going to your sister's wedding in Ibadan. We were on the same train. Or have you forgotten?" His face crumbled. "Chioma, please." "Please what? Please keep quiet while you live my life? While you spend stolen money? While you marry my best friend with blood on your hands?" I didn't want to. The words burst out of him, desperate, terrified. I didn't have a choice. They said they'd kill me if I didn't. He stopped abruptly, realizing what he'd admitted. "Who said they'd kill you, Marcus?" Agent Taiwo stepped closer. "Who else is involved?" But Marcus had retreated into shocked silence, the reality of his situation finally crashing down on him. That's when Mr. Adeyemi, the CEO, burst into the conference room, his face red with fury. "What is the meaning of this? You can't just barge into my bank."
He saw me and stopped dead.
Whatever color Marcus had lost, Mr. Adeyemi lost double. "You," he breathed. "You're supposed to be
dead."
I finished for him. "Yes, I know. That was the plan, wasn't it? Get rid of the nosy accountant who discovered your little scheme?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't you?" My uncle entered the room now, flanked by 2 lawyers. "Then perhaps you can explain why your authorization code appears on every fraudulent transaction over the past 2 years? Why 50 million naira disappeared into offshore accounts you control?" Mr. Adeyemi's composure shattered. He pointed a shaking finger at Marcus. "This is all his fault. He came to me, said we could make money, that no one would ever know. I just approved a few transactions." "So you admit it?" Agent Taiwo's smile was victorious. The CEO's face went from red to white. He had just confessed, and there were 20 witnesses in the room, plus 4 cameras recording every word. It was over. The next few hours were chaos. The EFCC arrested Marcus, Mr. Adeyemi, and 2 other senior managers. Journalists flooded the building, cameras flashing, questions shouting. The story was everywhere within the hour. Dead woman walks. Bank employee returns to expose murder plot and massive fraud. I gave my statement to the police, every detail captured for the record. Marcus's attempt to kill me, the embezzlement, the conspiracy, all of it. Jennifer approached me as I was leaving, tears streaming down her face. Chioma, I swear I didn't know. I thought. He said you were troubled, that you'd jumped. I believed him. Did you love him? I asked. She shook her head. I think I loved the idea of not being alone. After you died, I was so lonely. And he was there, and he seemed to understand. I felt a strange pity for her. She had been used, manipulated, just another victim in Marcus's web of lies. The engagement is off, I assume? I flushed the ring down the toilet an hour ago. Despite everything, I smiled.
Good.
That evening, I finally went home. My mother opened the door, and when she saw me, her legs gave out. My father caught her, and they both stood there, weeping, reaching for me like I might disappear again. My baby, my mother sobbed. My baby came home. My siblings rushed from inside, and suddenly I was buried in arms and tears and questions and prayers of thanksgiving. We held each other and cried until there were no tears left. Later, when things calmed down, I told them everything. They listened in horror and amazement, and when I finished, my father said something I'll never forget. God allowed you to fall so you could rise higher than your enemies could ever climb. He was right. I had fallen from a train, lost my memory, lived in a village as someone else. But in that fall, in that loss, I had discovered something Marcus could never take from me. The will to survive. The strength to fight back. The miracle of second chances. The trial lasted 6 months. It was grueling, intense, and every day brought new revelations that shocked the nation. The embezzlement scheme turned out to be even bigger than anyone imagined. 73 million naira had been stolen over 3 years, funneled through fake accounts and shell companies. Marcus was just one player in a network that included Mr. Adeyemi, 2 board members, and a corrupt EFCC official who had helped cover their tracks. But the evidence was overwhelming. My uncle's file, my original flash drive contents that he had backed up, the EFCC's audit, and most damning of all, my testimony. I sat in that witness box for 3 days, telling my story over and over. Marcus's lawyer tried to discredit me, suggesting I had faked my disappearance, that I was mentally unstable, that I was seeking revenge for a romantic rejection that never happened. But Agent Taiwo had found something that sealed everything. Train ticket records showed Marcus had purchased his ticket only 2 hours before departure, right after I had bought mine. Security footage from Lagos Station showed him following me onto the train. He had been tracking me, waiting for his chance. The final piece of evidence came from an unexpected source. A passenger from that night, an elderly man who had been sleeping in our coach, came forward. He had woken briefly and saw Marcus forcing me toward the door between coaches. He didn't report it at the time because he thought it was a lover's quarrel and had fallen back asleep before the actual push. But he remembered Marcus's face, and he identified him in court. When the verdict came down, the courtroom was packed. Journalists, spectators, my family, and even some people from Agbil village, including Mama Adani, who had traveled all the way to Lagos to see justice done. Marcus Daniels, you have been found guilty of embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. You are hereby sentenced to 25 years in prison with no possibility of parole. Marcus's face crumpled. His mother wailed from the gallery. But all I felt was a strange emptiness. This wasn't joy or satisfaction. It was simply closure. Mr. Adeyemi got 30 years. The board members got 15 each. The corrupt EFCC official got 20 years and lost his pension. But my fight wasn't over. After the trial, I stood on the courthouse steps surrounded by cameras and microphones. This was my moment to speak not just about my case, but about all the Chiomas out there, the women silenced, the whistleblowers threatened, the innocent destroyed by corruption. What happened to me could happen to anyone, I said, my voice steady and clear. I was pushed from a train because I dared to tell the truth. I was left for dead because I stood up for what was right. But I survived. And now I'm standing here to tell you that evil doesn't always win. Justice may be slow, but it comes. The crowd erupted in applause. But I wasn't finished. I also want to talk about the miracle that saved me. It wasn't just medical, it was spiritual, it was human kindness, it was God's grace. A woman named Mama Adunni found me broken on those railway tracks and nursed me back to life. She asked for nothing. She expected nothing. She simply saw a human being who needed help, and she helped. I gestured to where Mama Adunni stood, tears streaming down her weathered face. That is the real miracle. Not just that I survived, but that there are still people in this world who choose goodness over evil, compassion over indifference. That evening, I returned to Agbil village with Mama Adunni. The entire village had prepared a celebration: music, dancing, food, and prayers of thanksgiving. They had followed my story on radio and in newspapers, proud that their Iamide had brought down the corrupt and powerful. "You did well, my daughter," Mama Adunni said as we sat outside her compound, watching the celebration. "You took your pain and turned it into purpose." "I learned that from you," I replied, squeezing her hand. "What will you do now?" It was a question I had asked myself many times. Sterling Trust Bank had offered me my job back with a promotion and a substantial settlement. But I had declined. "I'm starting something new," I told her. "A foundation to help whistleblowers, to protect people who speak up against corruption. I'm calling it the Iamide Foundation because everyone deserves a second chance at joy." Mama Adunni smiled, her eyes twinkling in the firelight. "You see? The spirits knew what they were doing when they sent you to me. You died as Chioma the accountant. You were reborn as Iamide the warrior. And now you will save others the way you were saved." 3 months later, the Iamide Foundation officially launched. My story had inspired donations from across Nigeria and even internationally. We provided legal protection for whistleblowers, safe houses for people in danger, and financial support for those who lost their jobs for doing the right thing. Jennifer came to work for me. She had been devastated by her role in Marcus's deception, however unwitting, and wanted to make amends. She became the Foundation's communications director, using her skills to amplify the voices of the vulnerable. "Do you forgive me?" she asked one day as we worked late in the office. "There's nothing to forgive," I said honestly. "You were a victim too, just in a different way." My family struggled, at first, with what had happened to me. My mother had nightmares about the train, about losing me again. My father became overprotective, calling me 3 times a day. My siblings treated me like I might break. But slowly, we healed together. We learned to laugh again, to trust again, to live without fear. A year after the trial, I received a letter in prison mail. It was from Marcus. "Dear Chioma, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need you to know that every day I wake up in this cell, I see your face falling into the darkness. I hear your scream. And I know I am exactly where I deserve to be. What I did to you, there are no words. I was weak, I was greedy, I was a coward. I told myself I had no choice, but that was a lie. I always had a choice and I chose wrong. You survived despite me, and you turned that survival into something beautiful. I saw the news about your foundation. You're saving people, Chioma. You're doing what I could never do. You're making the world better. I will spend the rest of my life in here, and that's justice. But I want you to know that watching you rise from what I did to you, it's the only good thing to come from my evil. I don't ask for forgiveness. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, and I'm glad you're alive. Marcus." I read the letter 3 times, then folded it carefully and put it in my desk drawer. I didn't respond. Some things don't need a response. But I didn't burn it either. Because forgiveness wasn't about him. It was about me. And I was learning, slowly, to forgive not because he deserved it, but because I deserved peace. 5 years after the night Marcus pushed me from that train, I stood once again on a railway platform. This time, I was boarding voluntarily, heading to Abuja for a conference on anti-corruption. As the train pulled away from Lagos, I watched the city lights fade into darkness. The familiar landscape rolled past, the same route I had traveled that terrible night. But I felt no fear, only gratitude. I had been pushed into darkness and had found light. I had lost myself and had been reborn stronger. I had faced death and had chosen life. The miracle Marcus could never have imagined wasn't just my survival. It was my transformation. He had tried to bury me, not knowing that broken people don't stay buried. We rise. We rebuild. We become something he could never destroy. My phone buzzed with a message from Mama Adunni. Safe travels, Iamide. Remember, you carry the prayers of ancestors and the hopes of the living. Shine your light. I smiled and typed back. Always, Mama. Always. The train sped through the night, but this time I wasn't running from anything. I was running toward everything. Toward purpose, toward justice, toward a future I had earned through blood, tears, and the stubborn refusal to stay dead. Marcus had pushed me out of a moving train, thinking that would be my end. He was wrong. It was my beginning. Thank you for watching.